Okay, Chairman.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Again, Chairman Meitzner of the Sedgwick County Commission. I'm joined today by Mayor Whipple, and I'm also joined by the other county commissioners. Commissioner Cruz, Commissioner Dennis, and Commissioner Howell have joined us. So we thought it'd be good to get together because this is all about the local health orders and the cooperation that most all of our citizens and our businesses and our employees are doing, following along as best they can. I think the heightened awareness of our hospitals having more patients last week, and they're at a serious level with COVID patients. The timing was correct that we. By working with the city of Wichita especially, we tried to say how can we work together to avoid some of the clunkiness that was previously required on enforcing an order, really just for the really bad actors. This isn't for everybody, because I think most everybody's cooperating very well with the orders, especially recently. So. Anyway, that's why we thought we'd get together. Obviously, the pandemic is still bad. It wasn't very fun news to reported that Sedgwick County may lead the state in cases. So the Board of Health has been, my fellow commissioners have been overwhelmed with a lot of information and a lot of opinions and a lot of emotion. And maybe we think that if this latest order is about 9 days old, we just did another approved slightly a change on the new order effective this weekend or Friday night. We've got a lot of stuff going on, and so with that, I'm going to I can either hand it to Mayor Whipple for a couple of comments, and then Tom is going to walk us through the process of the enforcement of this order as we. So, Mayor Whipple, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for inviting myself to these chambers here today. Just want to thank the County Commission and also the City Council across the street for working hand in hand in ensuring that our residents here in Kansas's largest city will be able to work together in fighting the increased hospitalization numbers. At the moment, we are to what really is, I think, that last metric. We're not, I guess, arguing a squiggly line on a chart anymore, right? Like, we are not trying to piece together the methodology and reporting percentages, or having a discussion on is COVID really as bad as what people say it is. We're to the point now where our hospitals are close to maximum capacity. We're to the point now where here in Wichita, if you go to a hospital and we do nothing and a trend continues the way it's trending, you might not get a hospital bed, which means that we could be in a situation, if we don't act, where we see people who, if they were admitted, would survive and be okay, but if they're not admitted, we might fall into some preventable deaths. So this is the time for our resources to come together as city, as county, and as in smaller cities within the county to put people first and to make sure that while we get through the holiday season, we do so with as little grief, as little pain, as little death as we can. And of course, all that correlates with our local economy, making sure that while we lower the spread of COVID, that helps our local economy, our small businesses stay up and running as much as they can. So one of the things that I've heard repeatedly throughout this is that people don't really, I guess, adhere to the imaginary line across the street on what is the county and what is the city's responsibilities. They just want us to work together. So I want to applaud and thank our friends over here at Sedgwick County for allowing us that opportunity to work with them, and particularly the staff. the staff. Thank you, Tom, for working with Bob and ensuring that our resources will be put to good use to make sure that taxpayers are getting the best bang for their buck, that we're not duplicating services, and we're able to provide a more efficient plan and rollout. Now, I do just want to comment briefly that our perspective on this from the city level is that we want to encourage and educate folks, particularly in super spreader type situations, to follow the health guides. And one of the ways we can do that by working together is to make sure that if there is a super spreader type of event, people feel comfortable reporting this on the portal. And the goal is to, because we're real people, right? Like, not everyone follows government. Not everyone knows everything that's happening out of Sedgwick County or out of City of Wichita, which means that as these orders change, not everyone might know what those changes are. So the goal is to communicate what those changes are, to try to encourage businesses and organizations to be in compliance so that we can be safe. The goal isn't to go write out a bunch of tickets. The goal is to keep us safe. So with that, that will also not only help us lower the spread, but it also will help our small businesses and our large businesses in the area avoid civil lawsuits if they are out of compliance and maybe not even know it. So with that, a combined effort between the county and the city is really, I think, the best way forward to get us through what will be a very cold winter as far as not just the weather, but also our situation with COVID as we march towards the end of this crisis, which hopefully will be happening in the spring. With that, I'll give the floor back to the chairman, or to Tom.
Okay, thank you. So we will walk you through this. Again, it's directed at trying to comply as our citizens attend business and functions. It's not designed for a citizen complaining against a citizen deal. It's designed to get cooperation at the business level. So, okay, Tom, I'm going to hand this to you, and you walk us through.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you, Mayor, for the comments. I would just want to kind of frame this up a bit, and the reason that we're here today, and both the chairman and the mayor preface this. Our hospital numbers are higher than ever. We have both bodies. I know the commissioners receive a lot of complaints from businesses that are trying to be compliant, and they complain that other businesses are being non-compliant. So this was a solution that city and county staff sat down and tried to come up with as a resolution. On November the 10th, the county commission approved resolution number 154-2020, and that set the wheels in motion for this enforcement. That was published on 11/18 and became effective in Sedgwick County unincorporated area on that day. The city of Wichita, the day after, on November 19th, agreed as a body to join the effort of this and let enforcement of this county resolution happen with inside city of Wichita property. On the 20th of November, the city and the county staff sat in a Zoom call and worked out this process that we're going to step through here, and crafted it, made sure it was staffed appropriately, it would be responsive to citizens. And then, of course, today, the commission approved this agreement between City of Wichita and Sedgwick County. The very first thing that's going to happen today or tomorrow is that every business in Sedgwick County will receive a letter, and in the City of Wichita will receive a letter from the health director informing them of this change. It will talk about facts of the new order that Dr. Mins just rolled today, which, as the chairman alluded to, is very similar to the old order. A couple of key significant differences regarding gathering order and some other matters regarding how you run your business. So we will put that information into a letter, and we will mass distribute that starting today or tomorrow. So there's information going out, communication going out in case they miss all of this. After that happens, our website goes live tonight with a link on the county COVID site and a link on the MABCD site. And you heard me talk in the regular meeting about MABCD, that's the Metropolitan Area Building and Construction Department. It is a joint city-county department, and they enforce a lot of codes within both Wichita and Sedgwick County. So this access to this portal will be on both sites. When the portal is live, what will happen is citizens or officials, and that's fire, police, sheriff, EMS, park officials, any official within government can enter into that portal and log complaints, and that complaint goes to 3 locations at the same time. It goes to MABCD, it goes to county legal, and it goes to the health department. The health department and county legal look at each complaint and determine level of what's going to happen next. Is it valid? Does it meet the spirit of what this resolution is designed to do, which is let's get rid of super spreaders. Let's talk to people, as the mayor talked about. Let's communicate with people. Let's get compliance. So one of 2 things can happen at that point. Upon the initial complaint, could be a warning letter gone to the business advising them that we have gotten a complaint, and it would specify what exactly they were non-compliant with. Or it could be that the county legal staff determines there's probable cause to prosecute that case, and we can push it forward to county court. In all these matters, we have pledged to the cities, Wichita first, because we have an agreement with them, that we will communicate with them. They will know what business in their confines appear to be in violation of the health order. They will give an opinion. Do they want a letter? Do they want prosecution if prosecution is there? Or they may alert their officials, their police, their fire, keep an eye on this business. We've got a complaint that rolled in through the county. And if you see anything, make a case, make a report, send it to the health department, or put it through the portal, and let's go to the next step. Let's work with people and try to get compliance. It's the hope here of all of staff, and I think it's the hope here of the mayor and the chairman. We never use this. We hope that people just comply with the order. Makes it very easy, makes it safe. There's no businesses closed down. There are some businesses with restrictions, but it lets everybody operate best we can and try to keep our hospitals from going over capacity. So when the complaint comes in, it goes to these 3 locations, county legal, health. What's the next step? They communicate with the city, could be a warning letter, could push them to county court. If it comes in again, if we get a second or third complaint on a business, same discussion. And at some point, an official hopefully would get an eye on this particular establishment. Police officer, sheriff, fire official, EMS official, somebody gets an eye on this complaint, generates the case, because at the end of the day, this is going to be a code court like any other code court that the county or the city run. There's evidentiary rules, there's rights of defendants, there's a process that has to happen, and we want to prosecute successful cases on this. So we have to build an evidentiary case and push it to that level. So that's the long and the short of it. We've tried to make it easy. We've tried to make it focused toward not individuals, as the chairman mentioned. It's to areas in the community where a lot of people will collect, because Dr. Mins will say and doctors will tell you that's where the virus spreads. It's virology, right? That's how the virus works its way around our community. So anything we can do as a community to break those crowds up, to stop that situation from happening in the first place, helps the community, helps the hospitals, and keeps the community as healthy as possible. So now I think at that point, we're all open for questions, and we'll do the best we can.
So we'll take some questions.
You started your enforcement flow chart with complaints made. What was the decision process behind starting with complaints instead of starting with inspections? I mean, Kansas City just did inspections and caught over 100 bars blatantly violating codes.
I'll take a shot at that. We talked about reactive versus proactive, and what you're talking about there is a proactive approach. City manager and I talked about this. Whether we put a car out there on the streets and go around, not necessarily to punish people, but to educate people. Not saying we won't get there yet, but at this particular time, we would like to give this a chance to operate and hopefully get compliance. And I'm not saying that, and of course it'll be up to the elected bodies, but I'm not saying that that's not the future if we don't get compliance with this. We're hoping that this gets us to a level, and I agree with what the chairman said during the regular meeting. I really believe like the vast majority of this community gets it. and there's good compliance. This is for the few that for some reason can't get it or we need to work extra special with. But I'm hoping that this will take care of that. But not saying we wouldn't go to something more proactive in the near future if the elected bodies deem it so.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That decision to be proactive was not as comfortable as being reactive to the current situation with some of the, not a lot of complaints, but some of the targeted complaints coming in. Maybe it is just a a few that are violating.
And I'll follow up on that. One of the interesting things with COVID and when it comes to enforcement of COVID policy and even with complaints is some industries wind up being, I think, more demonized than other industries. And the media picks up on really, and I'm not knocking you guys, but the real bad actors, right? Like the ones that are really just vocal about not following these orders. But the reality is in the background, I get complaints from folks from all different sectors. So if we were to ask, I guess, a squad of folks to go out and to be more proactive, we run into the chance that certain industries become more targeted, and then it's that self-fulfilling prophecy that we wind up demonizing an entire industry when the reality is there are some really good faith actors within all industries, and then there's bad actors within all industries. So I think that letting a more organic approach where people call in, and then we can actually take that data and try to figure out, are there almost variables where this industry or that industry or this one is more likely to have not just problems, but maybe a particular problem that we can help them achieve compliance through that data. So it seemed like a smarter way to go, and to be frank, probably a more fair way to go.
More questions?
I guess Hayesville City Council last night voted to not enforce the counties that were in their municipality. What can the county do now, or does the county have the authority to enforce the health order in that municipality?
I have to repeat the questions because we're not picking up audio from you guys when you ask questions, so I'll take care of that, Chairman. Or if I understood the first part of it was Hayesville you were referring to. What he's referencing is Hayesville last night voted not to become part of this resolution enforcement within their city confines, and that is fine. Hayesville, as a municipality, has home rule ability to create their own ordinance, as Derby did. Derby is going to review this as well, and it could be possible that they may have both. They may have a city ordinance, they may sign on to this, and they have two choices then. So to answer your question directly, though, the county has no authority now to go down into Hayesville and enforce this.
But we do know that our hospital system is the ones who take care of people from Hayesville. And Hayesville does have nursing homes. Hayesville is a community that interacts with Wichita, so we would be hoping that they would be able to come up with their own strategy that would be appropriate to collaborate with neighboring Wichita so that we can fight this virus together and ensure that it doesn't have a place to flourish and hurt us all by having communities and their leaders not do anything.
And to double confirm, when you're going in, you're online, you're filing a complaint, you don't have to put in your name and your contact information.
Okay, the question is, when you go into the site, there is a space for name and address. The answer to your question is no, you do not. But complaints that come in anonymously are non-prosecutable in our world. We may take that information, alert the city that we got an anonymous complaint from XYZ business for them to be aware of, but that's as far as the complaint would go. We cannot prosecute on an anonymous complaint.
So you talked about the anonymous complaints, lots of concerns about whether information from anonymous complaints would be prosecutable, and also whether or not, if you do give your name, that would be open to Open Records Acts. How much has privacy played into this? Because I know a lot of people who have complaints, but they do not want their name shared because they work in these businesses.
Sure. Well, that's a tough situation. It's like any other complaint that citizens, when they call 911 and they report crime, and can they be anonymous, can they not? It's a tough personal choice for people to make. You have to ask yourself the question, just like we asked ourselves the question before we even crafted this resolution, is how important is this to the community health? And we think, I think both boards think, the health board thinks, Dr. Mins thinks, our hospitals think this is very important to the health of community. So as a citizen, you have to ask yourself that question. If I call in, if I get on this web link and I put my name on, I will tell you that originally that initial complaint, if it's non-evidentiary in nature, you're just making us aware of a place, then we assign that, we let the city know, we let the county know, the sheriff know that there's a place out there, then they try to get eyes on it, and then they carry the complaint to the next level. They get evidence, they go talk to people, they get photos, they write a report, they send it in, that becomes prosecutable. So your original complaint may or may not ever come up into play. But it could. I can't sit here and ever tell people you can remain anonymous when you complain about and initiate a criminal proceeding. So it's a tough personal decision for people to make. They just have to make it as best they can.
And I just want to add, as someone who's been targeted to be kidnapped and killed over the last 2 months for masking, right? Like, I understand the pushback when it comes to COVID and how it triggers some people. This is a really terrible situation that we haven't seen in our lifetime, and it's a lot for some people to comprehend, right? So I think with that, you see pushback, emotional pushback, political pushback. But I would ask that if you have to be anonymous, still make the complaint for the reason that the county manager mentioned, that if this is a place that is willfully out of compliant over and over again, and it gets on our radar over at the city level, I'll send someone out there and to go, and then that person can now make the complaint. Like, we will follow up, and it's good for us to know because, you know, we want to get these people in compliance if they are willing to get in compliance. It's just, I think when it gets down to the court level, if it ever got to that level, that's what Tom's talking about. So we want to make sure that we still get those, I guess, experiences filed and sent to us, even if they're unanimous, because we can follow up on that. And like I said, I've had my house protested during this time. Like, I completely agree and understand that some people want to not have their name out there. If you're one of those people, please still shoot us some of the information that you find if you are truly concerned, so we can follow up on this.
Okay. Any other questions? I can't thank you all enough for covering this. We're going into a Thanksgiving weekend, and I'll repeat that I have a lot of thank you to the businesses and the citizens that are trying their best to cooperate collectively. We don't have the single item that's stopped this COVID spread. If we did, we'd all be working for the National Football League or somewhere like that that's challenged around the country. But our community is doing the best they can, and I want to thank them. And I know it's been a lot of sacrifice for some families and businesses, and we have things to be thankful for this Thanksgiving, but it's been a trying year. But I want to celebrate that those of our community that are trying to cooperate, and I think we're going to get a handle on this the best we can. So thank you all for covering, and we'll be available as we move on. So,
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.